Viewers, what happened in my neighborhood still echoes through the walls of the courthouse. Before we begin, tell me which country you are watching from. Make sure to like and subscribe for more stories, because this one carries the weight of every decision that followed. The day began in the slow rhythm of a quiet weekend. The sun stretched across my yard, sweeping long shadows across the fence line that separated my home from the HOA district next door. I had always kept distance from their board and its president, a woman the neighborhood whispered about like she was an approaching storm. To most people, she was just strict. To others, she was unpredictable. To my family, she was a headache we tried to avoid. My niece, only 13, visited for the first time in months. She moved with a bright confidence that warmed every room she stepped into. She had been looking forward to this trip since summer began. Her parents trusted my land because it sat outside HOA regulation, tucked behind oak trees and wide air. She said the space felt free, and I believed her. That afternoon, she wandered near the edge of my driveway with her camera. She loved taking pictures of birds, fences, flowers, anything that caught her eye. The sky shifted to a copper glow as she followed the sound of sparrows toward the shared boundary between my property and the HOA's manicured strip. Karen, the HOA president, had been on edge that week. Rumors swirled about upcoming elections and some challenge to her authority. She stood guard over the neighborhood, as if the lawns were fortresses in a war no one else could see. She noticed my niece while walking the street, her posture stiffening like a nerve snapping tight. The moment that followed arrived without warning. A single sound forced the air to collapse. Birds scattered in panic. My niece fell. The world narrowed to a single point of dread. I heard the noise from my porch and rushed toward it, heart pounding in my ears. My land, usually steady and familiar, felt foreign beneath my feet. I reached her before the shock fully settled in my mind. She was conscious, but fading fast. The scene around us twisted into a blur of scattered gravel, trembling hands, and a rising certainty that life had just changed in an irreversible way. Karen stood several yards away, holding the weapon she had fired. Her face carried a strange mix of righteousness and disbelief. She claimed later that she thought my niece was trespassing. She believed a child with a camera was some kind of threat to property lines she imagined were under siege. Neighbors stepped out of their homes in waves, first in confusion, then in horror. Emergency responders arrived within minutes. The road filled with flashing lights, radios cracking in bursts, and the heavy rhythm of boots against pavement. My niece was taken away in the ambulance, her small frame swallowed by medical machinery. The sight carved something into me that will never heal. Law enforcement officers gathered around Karen. Her story shifted several times. First, she insisted she was defending HOA grounds. Then she claimed she feared for her life. Then she blamed my family entirely. Her certainty crumbled as witnesses described a child photographing birds. The air grew taut as officers realized what they were dealing with. For most people, the next steps would involve waiting for justice through the slow gears of the legal system. But my position changed everything. Unknown to Karen, unknown to many of the neighbors, I was the presiding judge for the county. I had built a reputation for quiet discipline, fairness, and a refusal to bend to pressure. It was the kind of work that demanded composure, even on days where emotion pushed at the edges. I did not reveal my title on the scene. I let the officers follow protocol. Karen was taken into custody. She moved with a stunned stiffness, as if she finally realized her actions lived beyond her control. The neighborhood watched as she disappeared into the back of a police vehicle. Whispers trailed behind like scattered leaves. At the hospital, I waited. The hallways carried the soft hum of machines and the sharp scent of antiseptic. Every minute landed heavier than the last. Doctors worked in careful motions, stitching together the damage the bullet had carved. My niece fought with a resilience that defied her age. She survived the night, then the next. Her recovery became the focus of every sunrise. When the day came to address the case, I followed the law with the same precision I always demanded from others. I recused myself from presiding over the trial to avoid conflict, but my presence in the courthouse still shifted the room. The prosecutors knew the severity. The evidence was clear. Witnesses spoke. Surveillance cameras near the street supported the timeline. No interpretation favored Karen. The HOA board tried to distance themselves. They claimed she acted alone. They insisted that their policies never encouraged violence. But documents emerged showing repeated complaints about boundary paranoia. Emails surfaced where Karen demanded harsher enforcement of imaginary rules. The board had allowed her behavior to escalate unchecked. Their silence became part of the story. The trial ended with a conviction that carried weight far beyond the courtroom. The HOA faced a civil investigation for negligence. Karen faced consequences proportionate to her actions and the life she nearly destroyed. My niece's strength became the symbol of everything the community rallied around. Her recovery, slow but steady, brought people together in a way that pushed past fear and anger. I returned home weeks later. The land felt different. The driveway carried memories I wish I could wash away. Yet my niece, walking slowly but standing tall, insisted on taking another picture by the fence. She said facing the place helped her heal. She raised her camera again with hands steadier than mine. In the end, the neighborhood changed. The HOA board resigned. New leadership grew out of accountability rather than fear. The community rebuilt trust through honest conversation and responsibility. Karen's actions became the lesson that echoed through every meeting and every decision that followed. Tell me which country you're watching from. Make sure to like and subscribe for more stories.